I have a saying about giving a rat's ass that's kind of funny. That how can you give a rat's ass? The ass of the rat isn't yours to give, so let the rat keep his ass. Or you can pick up a rat in tandem to somebody else's ass first, and yes, you're giving a rat's ass. And if the other person wants to accept the rat ass first, to give a rat's ass, you're sort of offering up the rat's ass, and it's up to the other person if he wants to accept. So I'll have another saying too, that in some certain things, that if a rat's ass should really be offered or even given about a particular subject. So that's what I say about tolerance to a certain thing. You can say sometimes you give a shit. There's some and I also have a thing where I say there's certain aspects of giving a shit or giving a fuck. It's not that I don't give a shit or give a fuck. It's there's some aspects of giving a shit or giving a fuck that I don't give a shit or a fuck about. And at any given time, when and where should a rat's ass be given, or a fuck be given, or a shit be given, or even offered? You know what I mean? Alright, what's up, yins, guys? Time for another video. I like to grab free books from places and then find homes for them after I'm done cataloging them and whatever, though, too. But I like to pick up some books as once in a while I'll make references to show you visually. So this right here, I picked this one up. I saw it in the pile of free books. The library chucks a bunch of books away, gives it for free, and I donate a lot of them. But I don't know which side any of you guys watching this video would be on keeping or reading or looking at books. Some people say, oh, but like if you can be a diehard Christian or diehard leftist or whatever, liberal or whatever, or conservative, would be, oh, burn that, it's garbage, it doesn't fit our narrative. But a lot of us who vary in our beliefs to a certain extent will look and read through things and critique. Yeah, that's the word I was looking for, critique particular things. And I'm thinking, why Christians shoot their wounded. There's a lot of people shoot their wounded. There's different angles I want to get with this. And this is a particular Christian format. And for one thing, there's a couple different... in my world, and some of you guys' world, you don't always have just a conservative and liberal or diehard Christian or far right or far left. You can have the conservative Christian, for example, break that down, and on that side, in the Christian world, you can have a far right and far left attitude. And in a lot of cases, you can have somebody that's a liberal that's not really Christian, where you can have a far left and far right in that scope or spectrum, right? A liberal that's a little bit more, you want to say conservative for liberals, and then you got a liberal that's too liberal. You got divided factions, if you will, two different attitudes, you know what I mean? And, well, this popped into my head, but to talk in parentheses, the YouTuber Pat Condell, the guy, that British guy, he was talking about how a liberal and a progressive can be pretty bad things. One of his most recent videos that was like probably a bunch of months old or whatever, talking about how progressives can be really bad. You can be, I think liberal or progressive are one of the things, but there's a dangerous side of it, an agenda around it. Well, things like this is not just a Christian thing. There's a twisted version of this that liberals or progressives use. And how, well, you get some, Christians that are far right, really far conservative, and the liberals or progressives or what have you, why they don't like each other. They got a version of this, and one version on each side think it's better than others. And what this book is usually about, really, not to detract from it and not double talking or whatever the hell. Well, I'm double talking because to tell you how people double talk it and twist. This shit can be twisted the same way people take any verse in the King James Bible and twist it to their advantage. You know what I mean? But then liberals do the same thing. They have their own warped philosophy of this. In my opinion, okay, you want to take some of the Christians on the TV that, whether they get it from TV, that maybe you may not like or might be too condescending to you and me, maybe fancier suits. And I, for one, am not a big screw-up like some of these other people. And I can explain to you why, even though, say, maybe some of the condescending Christians you don't like, there's a reason why I'm saying they don't intend to shoot the wounded. And there's both liberals and conservatives who will say, well, everybody deserves a second chance since people have the three strikes you're out method. But here's the thing you should be paying attention to if you get anything out of this video here. If you're black or white watching this, then if you watch Dr. Phil, whether you think any of that stuff is staged or real, I can bring him into it in a way where if you're black or white, you want to give somebody a second chance, but there's always these people that some are grateful and you get these success stories they got out of whatever it was, drugs or whatever. Then you get some of these other ones, like a cousin I had in the past. I'm not going to spend the whole video talking about him. And I'd like to throw a question in there to some of you people over there too, if you got this far in this video, not to detract from the subject, but say, oh, is it just white people that have the cute one that all people always make an excuse for, or you get some black people who have that too? I can't stand these people play the race card for every little thing, but I'm almost saying that white people have it. I have a cousin that like it. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but anybody, what color you are, you have a relative. Maybe you have one, or maybe you were one that got out of some kind of a ways, and people had to tell you something straight, things that you didn't like, right? Well, you get the ones out there too that take on the philosophy. What I'm talking about in that book of any far left or far right, set you up to fail, and then double standards. Cut. You're not supposed to kick somebody when they're down, right? But you got these people that'll kick somebody when they're down, right? Or you or me, anything, even a rumor of a fuck up, they lose their minds. But then that relative you got that maybe it's the cute one, everybody making excuses of, doing shit time and time and time again, and making excuses for them, but then they're waiting for you, a rumor, just for you to fuck up just once, because they're jealous. And then the far left side has the tendency to be jealous of some of us that got stuff and we're better off because we didn't get in no trouble, and they're jealous, and they'll call you selfish. Like, there's a part of the far left that you're required to self-degrade. Like I said in videos before, a twisted version of how Christianity says humble yourself and about not being prideful. And then the far left requires you to self-degrade, a version, the secular, if you want to even be a type of Christian, say, metaphorically speaking, I can agree with some Christians that'll say the devil's twisted version of humbleness. Or you'll get this condescending, jealous person on the conservative relative you own. Everything you say and do is wrong, and tell you you're prideful or whatever, maybe because your hair is long off the collar, and how dare you have long hair and ever succeed in any workplace or succeed in things like, or do anything, and they're waiting for you to fail. The gossip, oh, he's on dope, I used to make fun of the old fogey thing, long hair or whatever. Oh, you shouldn't have no job anywhere. The police should raid your house just because you have long hair and seize your possessions, seize everything. Then the far left, they'll talk about the way you look, say you don't kiss their ass or coddle their people. The far left will use versions of shit like this topic that Christians could be odds with each other about, and tell you have to coddle lowlifes. And the reason why this book is kind of written in a way, some Christians that maybe they don't intend to shoot the wounded, but they have, even if it's Christians you don't like, they have a tendency to want to protect themselves from, for example, people that are doing shit time and time and time again. They don't want to learn. They'll just play the part, either to get money or to take advantage of the people, or they'll run to the far leftist mommy or daddy that wants to coddle them. I mean, and I'm trying to be like devil's advocate, in a way, in a metaphoric speaking. That say you get some Christians don't even like you, maybe because your hair length, that they have these old-fashioned ways, which a lot of that is dying out now, and a lot of the leftists have a twisted version of that, like you said too. Then you might have somebody in a church that's like, okay, you get that this book is complaining about that, and I believe, some of them, if you don't like them, there's certain people, if they don't want to change, maybe do the Dr. Phil thing, maybe they better go somewhere and get help. And for a reason, like I said, it's a protective mechanism, if you will. And even if you don't like a particular group or not, that the Christians that book is about is, well, if people keep screwing up time and time and time again, they can bring bad people to your house. Like if you're black or white watching this, right? The Wilkinsburg shooting, all it takes is one person keeps doing stuff, and they try to give them a place. I'm not saying that this was the whole details of Wilkinsburg, but yeah, for black people, things like Wilkinsburg, some person somewhere brings them. People like my cousin, not even about anybody of any kind of color, people like a cousin that I had. For example, you have them coming around and around. Their enemies can be coming after them and wanting to steal from you or wanting to shoot you. So the Christians that are being criticized by a book like this, they don't intend. But I'm saying there's nothing wrong with it because it's a protective mechanism. Even if you're a fucking leftist, don't like me or don't like certain kind of Christians anyway, there might be leftists out there that, okay, want to say enough is enough. I mean, well, I think most leftists, they make these excuses, they want to coddle people or whatever, too. Make excuses and act like a third thing don't exist. A smarter leftist that maybe wants to think it goes too far. You coddle the wrong people, and you want to use the leftist version of this, that say if you're a leftist that don't like Christians and have a version of this philosophy, that, you should just coddle everybody and bring them around all the time. It can be a risk to your life and to your property, but the people on the far left will be like, oh, you're selfish, you're worried about your precious property, you think you're better, and you're supposed to self-degrade, and maybe you're required to get a drug habit of your own and get on some kind of a thing, and that you're too selfish, the far left, you're too selfish. Oh, you don't drink, you won't smoke anything. Make excuses for every drug person or crackhead. Oh, they need that because they got drugs, so that. And you should change your whole life to not hurt their feelings, you know what I'm saying? And that's then you get the Christians that are in a church. You might have a more liberal church that's not quite like that book is talking about, right? You might have that relative you may have met in a church, right? That he got, oh, this person, this is so-and-so's child, this is so-and-so's baby. Nobody in the church is really allowed to say anything. After a while, they give them a chance and they distance themselves from the whole family and maybe leave the whole church. Because you might have a whole, you get to some of these ones that they kind of mean well, but then they coddle all the crackheads to a point where they're, and they'll prescribe a philosophy for you wanting to give these people a second chance, and they won't live in that environment themselves. And some of them that'll say that shit won't even take one of their relatives and put themselves in, because there's a point where you're putting yourselves in danger. So that's why I'm saying that there's an aspect of people that write books like this. It's some of the most succulent morsels of bullshit. But yet there's a side of it, a small side that maybe some people, well, in a sense that maybe somebody deserves maybe a second chance. But there's also doors opening where the more articulate, narcissistic crackheads like you've seen on Dr. Bill, very manipulative and will guilt people and everything else, and you let them come in your house and take over your whole house. You know, you'll be at work and see them laying on your couch, a TV, beer and a joint in one hand, you know, a needle on the couch, and laying down on your couch and stare at you like there's something wrong with you when you find, like, what the hell, you know. But yeah, you give certain people a inch, they'll take a mile. So one person that writes a book like this is not the whole solution to anybody's shit any more than a far leftist version of the mentality. And but my thing, and then in this video, my solution and my critiquing of this book is, even if you're on the fence as a leftist, and if you're not a diehard leftist, or if you're on the far right, or certain kinds of Christianity, I'm speaking about whether you like me or not, or some of you like each other. I'm making it more like a right to protection of your own family or your own house and property. You have the right to maybe, if you think it's too much of a risk, don't call those people, and do not make them feel like, nobody should try to make you feel like you're shooting the wounded because maybe you're trying to protect your own self and you don't want police coming around your own house and shit like that. You have many different factions. A philosophy like this can be used in a religion. And like I said, you can have a more liberal church, or a church that's so diehard, you know, like no dancing, no long hair, no Christian rock. Or you might have the more liberal Christian that's too liberal, letting every crackhead in, and it'll become a sanctuary for drug doers rather than for reforming. You know what I'm saying? Shit like this can make people take advantage too, you know what I mean? And you may have to send them away and get the professionals, or let certain people go to jail rather than save yourself, you know what I mean? Whichever side you are, there's a side where don't let anybody say you're selfish, where this book could be just utter crap.